next couple up are the Peavys, Sharon and Dave. Sharon is the president of the California Club. She also does Zumba and the Emeritus Water Aerobics classes, and I want to thank her for coming because she's missing her class today, right?
Yes.
They're both members of Boomers, the Chicago Club, and the Wine Club. Plus, they go to the Deluxe Nightclub, the New York Club, and the Comedy Club. Dave plays pickleball and is planning to start a craft beer club. The first clubs they joined were the African American Heritage Club and the Bridge Builders Club. Their son and daughter-in-law adopted an African American baby at birth, and to quote Sharon, "We're over the moon in love with him, our only grandchild. I'm over the moon in love with mine too." So there you go.
Totally understand.
Thank you so
Such a
much
treat.
for coming on.
Thank you, thank you.
I always ask 3 questions to begin
Okay.
with. The first question is, where are you from?
Okay, I'll start. I was born in Northern California.
Okay.
My dad was in the Marine Corps,
Okay.
and he was overseas when I was born. The minute he came home, we got transferred to Florida, then North Carolina, then back to California, then Japan for 3 years when I was in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And then in 1960, we moved to El Toro Marine Corps Air Station, and I've lived here ever since
Wow.
in this area.
I've gotten a lot of military people's children coming on with the same stories, but at least you were stable for quite a while.
Right, yeah, quite a while. yes.
Tell her why you were stable, how many kids?
Oh, we had 8 kids in the family, so they didn't want to keep moving us around. They took a 4-plex and made it into a duplex, and we had our family on one side, and there's another family with 6 kids next door to us. So it was a pretty busy neighborhood.
Right.
And then they finally kept him, the father they had to shift around, but they kept the family and they got a home in El Toro back then. So then they were able, the family was able to stay there.
Nice.
And he would
Nice.
pop in and out.
So did you go to military schools in El Toro, or were you able to go to?
There was an elementary school right outside the base,
Right.
but I think it was affiliated with the local school district.
Okay.
And I think at that time it was Santa Ana, because there
yeah.
was nothing out here.
Yeah.
And then I went to middle school at San Canyon and the 5 freeway, where there's a big bus depot now,
Yes,
but that
yes.
used to be junior high school. And then in my freshman year of high school, I was bused to Foothill High School. And then when I was a sophomore, Mission Viejo High School opened up for the first year.
Okay.
And so I was there for the next 3 years.
Wow.
Well, there was nothing in this area.
I
It was a
know.
lot of
Why do you want to live
farming.
way out there?
Right.
Is that a church school? All those things.
I moved to Mission Viejo in '84, and there was no
And there-
Aliso Viejo. There was nothing.
There was no lake or any of that
No,
back
no,
then.
there was nothing.
Okay, where are you from?
Where are you from, Sharon?
Well, I was born in Miami, but my parents came to California too. So I've been in California ever since, in the LA County area, in Covina, went to Charter Oak High School, and then when I graduated, they moved to Orange County, and I went down to San Diego State
Okay.
and went to college
school.
there.
Party school.
Yes, I told my kids we did not care where they went to college, but they couldn't go to San Diego State.
Right. Oh, yeah. Not safe.
Because it was fun, but it was
No,
too
you don't
much
send your
fun.
kids there.
Right.
Okay.
And they ended up both going back east to school, so we were very, very happy.
Okay. The next question is, how long have you been a couple?
48 years,
40.
married 47.
Okay.
We met just about
wait,
a month
wait,
before.
wait.
She has
We'll get
the
to
questions.
We met about a month before I turned 25.
Okay. Last question before we get into that is, how long have you lived in Laguna Woods?
2.5 years.
Be
Well,
3 years in May.
in May, but the first month we had COVID, so we never left the house. So I say we've been here since June,
Okay.
because that's when we first got out.
Okay. All right. Now, how'd you meet?
About 11 o'clock at night.
You were
on
25.
I was 25, just pushing 25, on my couch in my living room.
It's very true. His sisters worked for me.
For
my
free.
summer job was the YMCA. I was the camp director. And they invited me over. It was kind of towards the end of the season, and we were having a little gathering.
Oh,
and
you had eight kids in your family.
By then, it was
But-
just 6.
six.
He had lost 2
Oh,
sisters
okay.
when he was younger in a car accident. So he came in the door just as I was getting ready to leave, and I looked at him and thought, because there were mostly younger kids, because his sisters were younger.
She could buy the beer for the party.
And that was
it.
why I joked and said the only reason they wanted me was so I could buy the beer. And so I went on home, and my mom said, "So how was it?" And I said, "Oh, you know, it was kind of slow, but right at the end, I met someone my age. He seemed nice, and that was it. Well, my mom was surprising me with a birthday party, and we're bringing all my friends from San Diego, and she called the YMCA, and his sister answered the phone, and she said, I want to invite you guys to come too. And Sharon said she met your brother. Why don't you bring him along?
So I got this. She went home, woke her mom up, and told her all about me.
This is
that was
the teenage
so
sister.
We go to her birthday party. And
Oh,
it was
that's
at
what your sister told you?
Yeah.
So we were at this recreation center, and I see her on the other side of the swimming pool. So I walk this way. She walks this way. I walk this way. She walks. She didn't speak to me all night.
I was so embarrassed that and I had all my friends from college, that my mom invited him. I said hi, but I really didn't interact with him hardly at all because I was truly embarrassed. She invited him. And then the next week was the last week of our camp, and most of my employees had already gone back to college or school or wherever. So his sister said, you know, my brother is great with kids because Dave literally raised
And I didn't
his
go to
younger
work
brothers
until
and
after the
sisters.
Y closed for the day.
So I could get him to come and help. And I said, great. And she calls him up and he says, I don't know. And so she puts me on the phone. And
And she goes, Dave, I want you, I need you, I have to have you.
Yeah, of course. That's Dave.
No, that's
Dave's
my copy.
version. But I did say I'm desperate for counselors. And so he came and worked for me. So truly, the first time we were ever together, I was his boss.
I had a group and she had a group, you know, YMCA kids that we were monitoring, and we were like this. And, you know, toward the end of the week, there were two groups that neither one of us were paying
mingled.
attention to. Then I took her out on a date on Friday night, and the next morning,
I moved
She
back
moved
to
to San
San
Diego
Diego
and
for
left
another
me.
semester. No,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
interacted, and when I graduated, we came back, and
Wait,
literally,
what were you doing that you had the
he
time?
was in college.
I was
Oh,
in
you were
college,
also in college.
working at a local liquor store,
Okay.
Rod's Liquor. Was on El Toro Road, now it's no longer there. Going to school and raising two brothers and two sisters. My mother died of cancer just before I turned 20, and I had two sisters
So
killed in a
sorry.
car accident just before I turned 16.
And his dad, a 30-year Marine, the highest non-commissioned officer at the military, you know, over 30,000 men. When he retired, he couldn't get a job because he went in at 17, didn't have a college degree, and at that time that was so important. So he spent his days at the commissary, at the beer
bar.
and the wine, the bar, and became an alcoholic. So Dave literally, at that time, took some time off from college and moved home and raised his brothers and sisters.
And he had dried out about 3 times, and the first time Sharon met my dad was in a rehab center, and that was the last time he went into a rehab
And he
center, and he was
recovered.
sober until he passed away in 2000.
And he moved back home, and Dave could finally live his life, and
Oh,
went back to
my.
college, and then we got together, and a year later we were married. So it was very quick.
Wow, what a story.
He's a gem.
Yeah.
I knew he was a keeper when I met him because of all of that. It's a beautiful.
I could also cook because
You could
they
also cook.
kids, you learned how to cook easily.
Okay, so when did you ask Sharon out on a date?
On the last day of YMCA camp, I said, would you like to go to a movie? And we went to see The Sailor Who Fell from Grace, from the Sailor Who Fell from Grace to the Sea.
So at
Something
this
like-
point, you having worked together for a week,
Yeah.
Right.
now you weren't like this, now you were more like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you were kind of expecting.
We were kind of interested in one
Okay,
another.
okay.
So we
Oh,
went
she
on
was
a
a
date.
hot little Irish girl. How could, she was a cutie, yeah.
So we went on a date, and of course he's going to tell you we had an argument over a word
It
that he
wasn't an
used.
I just said Chris Christopherson was a little braggadocio in his part in the movie. And she goes, that's not a word. So when I dropped her off at her house, I found
An
the
old dictionary and pulled it
and
up.
I pointed it out to her.
And the way he said it, I thought, I've never heard of that, So anyway, I went back to college. Back then, it wasn't cell phones or any of
Yeah,
that.
the phone on the kitchen
And we
wall.
started calling one another hours on the
distance?
phone, long
Yes.
distance, had a big phone bill, and
I would
then
drive
he'd
down
come
to
and
visit
visit.
her, and she'd come up and visit me.
And then
Then
one of our
one night she
first
called me up
dates-
and goes, Dave, can you get Friday off? I go, yeah. And this is just like 2 weeks after we'd started dating. And she goes, I have tickets for Earth, Wind, and Fire. They cost $16 at the time.
You were a keeper.
Oh, yeah.
And I got the tickets. He came down, our favorite concert of all time, and that's why it was so exciting here this last summer. We brought in, for the California Club, an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band.
Right.
That was phenomenal. Everybody loved it, and we did too. It brought such great memories back. We just had such a great time.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so then after that, how often did you get to see each other?
6 months later, we were moved in together.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And my
It's-
Catholic
yeah.
parents were very upset.
Oh, were they?
And a month or
What
so
do I
after,
call him? Your shack up?
Yeah. And a month after that, we got engaged.
So then it was
and then
fine.
my mom was thrilled
Oh, she
because
loved me
loved
anyway.
him.
She loved me.
But she had the name now, what she could call him. And then the following November, we were married. So it was pretty rapid at a young age. I
In
was 23, he was
1976,
26.
my boyfriend moved into my apartment, and I couldn't tell my mother I was in California, and,
Yes, yes.
and she was in New York State, and I couldn't tell her, and I had no money, but I got a separate phone that only she,
Doctor, I get it. It was a
red
different
phone
time.
that only
It was-
that only she had that number,
Number,
for.
right?
It was starting to change,
Right.
but
It was
yeah.
still a little.
So we actually got married at the Catholic church across the
Right
street
here,
here.
St. Nicholas. Yes.
And his family being in this area, that was their church. And he had been an altar boy with
All through high school.
all through high school and all of that.
From the
and
time I was 6.
so we got married there, but we never lived this area. We lived in other parts of Orange County and
Until we
raised
moved
our
to the
kids. Initially, they were born in Whittier, but we moved from there because our house was totaled in an earthquake,
Oh.
the 87 earthquake, and we moved to Yorba Linda and raised them there, and that's where they graduated from high school.
Oh, okay.
And they both went back to Boston.
Oh, they
We
both
were
went back to Boston?
We were so thrilled. Our son went to MIT and our daughter went to Wheaton College, it was originally part of the Seven Sisters. So it was
Yes.
originally an all-girl, but now it's co-ed.
Right.
And they had a dance conservatory and an academic program. And she had graduated from OSHA, the Orange County High School of the Arts. So she was a dancer, but she was good at math too. And thank goodness she got a computer science degree.
Oh, yeah.
And both of our kids are engineers with Boeing now. They both are.
And are they in Boston?
No, they came home. Our plan was after they went off to college. My plan was, I always have a plan. After they went off to college, we moved from Yorba Linda down to right by the pier in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And when they came home, breaks and summers, they had so much fun in Huntington. They both got jobs with Huntington Beach and Seal Beach for
His frat
Boeing.
brothers would come out on spring break
Right.
Yeah, all
to
their
sleep on our
friends would
living room
come.
floor.
We had
Right.
college kids everywhere. And then our son is still down here in Laguna Niguel, but our daughter-in-law and her husband both are with Boeing and got transferred to Seattle.
Okay, that's
So
not so
they've been
bad.
in Seattle
It's a
now
2-hour
far.
plane
about
ride.
Yeah.
8 or 9 years. And we were just up there a
Yeah.
week ago, so we go up there and visit them a lot, and they come down here.
I have a son who lives in Washington State who grew up in Southern California, and it amazes me that he can live up there and like it.
It is so cold.
It is so cold
It
or
is so
rainy
cold
or
and
cloudy
rainy.
or
Yes,
dark.
we just went through all that.
Right,
It even snowed while we were there just a couple weeks ago. So
Yes, yes.
right,
Had a little bit of
right,
that too.
right. But it's great, you know.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area, so we enjoy having that as a place to go to a lot.
I just got the 2-minute warning, and I didn't warn you about this, but is there anything coming up on the California Club?
Well, we are so in love with the California Club. It was one of the first clubs we went to, and we love the concept of a sit-down dinner dance where you get your reservation early so you don't stand in line. And this month, next Tuesday, we have a band from Laguna Woods here. Bill Ring, who is a great drummer,
Yes,
has
yes.
played his whole life in
Right,
different bands, and he
right.
put together a band called Rhythm Rebels, and Sherry Showalter is in it,
Okay.
but he also has a 10-piece band with all these musicians. They are phenomenal. A lot of soul, a lot of jazz, a lot of Motown, and rock and roll, and they're our band for next Tuesday night.
And then early March, first week of March, we have
A pack show.
a pack show with
Okay.
the decades, and it's from Chuck Berry to Katy Perry.
Ooh.
And
It's
they
an
show the
amazing group.
transition of how they went from
Old-
the early rock and roll and progressed into new rock and roll and to where it is today.
And they play all the music from all those different genres.
Right.
It's a great group. They travel the country with this show, and it's just highly regarded. And it's the second
The 8th?
Tuesday, the 8th of March at the Pack.
At the Pack. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. This was
no
really
problem.
fun, and I'm really sorry I didn't give you all the right information, but you made it here, so.
Yes, yes, terrific.
But Once you get to know us better, you'll find we always make it barely on time.
If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.